Captain Lee Minho gripped the command chair as the rescue vessel Mercy's Hand shuddered through the dense asteroid field. Red emergency lights bathed the bridge in crimson as alarms blared throughout the ship. Space debris pinged against their reinforced hull like deadly rain. "Distance to Kepler 442b mining colony," Minho called out, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. 18 minutes at current speed, Captain," replied navigator Kim Jae-hyun, fingers dancing across his holographic display. "But those asteroids are getting thicker. We're taking micro-impacts on the port side." Communications officer Park Ji-woo suddenly straightened at his station. "Captain, I'm receiving multiple distress signals from the colony surface. The attack started 6 hours ago. They're running out of time." Minho's jaw tightened. 6 hours was too long for any settlement to hold against organized raiders. The Kitharan Syndicate was known for their brutality, taking what they wanted and leaving nothing but destruction behind. "Can you get a clear reading on survivors?" Minho asked. Park Ji-woo's face lit up his scanner array, the blue glow reflecting off his concerned features. "Sir, I'm picking up over 1,000 life signs scattered across 3 different emergency shelters. Mixed species readings, definitely humans, but also Altarian heat signatures and what looks like vegan energy patterns." The bridge fell silent except for the steady hum of the ship's engines. Over 1,000 beings trapped on a dying world, waiting for rescue that might never come. Minho had seen this scenario too many times before, but it never got easier, all. "Stations, this is your captain," Minho announced over the ship's intercom. "We have multiple species in distress on Kepler 442b. Begin emergency evacuation protocols immediately. This is not a drill." Throughout the Mercy's Hand, the crew sprang into action. Medical Officer Kim So-young rushed to the medical bay, her team already preparing emergency supplies and setting up temporary treatment areas. The ship's cargo holds were quickly converted into refugee accommodation spaces. "So-young, what's your status?" Minho asked through the comm. "Medical bay is ready for mass casualties, Captain," came her crisp reply. "We've got emergency supplies for 1,500 beings, plus surgical equipment for trauma cases. My team is standing by." Engineer Park Sung-ho's voice crackled through the intercom from the engine room. "Captain, I'm pushing the engines to maximum safe velocity. We'll reach the colony in 12 minutes. As they broke through the asteroid field, Kepler 442b came into view. The mining colony spread across the planet's surface like a metal spider web, with massive extraction equipment reaching deep into the Earth. Smoke rose from several locations where the raiders had struck. "Launching rescue shuttles," announced Shuttle Commander Lee Hyo-jin. "First wave deploying now." 4 sleek rescue shuttles detached from the Mercy's Hand, their engines glowing bright blue as they streaked toward the planet's surface. Each shuttle could carry 50 refugees, but with over 1,000 survivors, they would need multiple trips. The first shuttle, piloted by Flight Officer Yoon Sung-woo, touched down near the largest emergency shelter. Through his helmet camera, the bridge crew watched as terrified families rushed toward the shuttle. Human miners helped elderly Altarians with their distinctive silver skin, while young vegan colonists with their translucent features carried injured children. "First group secure," Yoon reported. 53 refugees aboard, returning to ship. The evacuation continued smoothly for the next hour. Shuttle after shuttle lifted desperate survivors from the burning colony. Medical Officer Kim So-young worked tirelessly, treating injuries ranging from plasma burns to broken bones from falling debris. "Captain," called out scanner operator Young Min-sik, his voice tense, "I'm detecting massive hyperspace distortions. Something big is coming." The view screen flickered as space itself seemed to tear open. 12 massive warships emerged from hyperspace, their black hulls bristling with weapons. The ships were unlike anything in the standard galactic fleets, crude, menacing, built for destruction rather than exploration. "Kitharan Syndicate," whispered Navigation Officer Kim Jae-hyun. 12 heavy cruisers were completely surrounded. The pirate ships moved with predatory grace, forming a perfect sphere around the defenseless rescue vessel. Their weapon systems powered up, casting red targeting beams across the Mercy's Hand's hull. A harsh, guttural voice filled the bridge as the lead pirate ship established communication. "This is Warlord Thax of the Kitharan Syndicate. You will surrender all refugees immediately, or your ship will be destroyed. Captain Lee Min-ho stood slowly, his expression calm despite the overwhelming odds. He activated the general broadcast, ensuring his response would be recorded on every frequency. This is Captain Lee Min-ho of the Earth rescue vessel, Mercy's Hand. We are a registered medical vessel operating under the Galactic Rescue Accords. We are non-combatant and carry no weapons. These people are under our protection. Warlord Thax's laughter was like grinding metal. Your Earth laws mean nothing here, human. Surrender the refugees or join them in death. Min-ho looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. Navigator Kim Jae-hyun met his eyes and nodded slightly. Communications. Officer Park Ji-woo's hand hovered over the emergency beacon. They all knew what was coming. Negative, Warlord Thax. These people are under our protection. We will not abandon them. The pirates' response was immediate and brutal. Plasma cannons erupted from all 12 ships simultaneously, turning space into a web of deadly energy. The Mercy's Hand shuddered as the first impact struck their unshielded hull. Hull breach on decks 4 through 7, reported engineer Park Sung-ho, his voice strained. We're losing atmosphere fast. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut throughout the ship, but the damage was too severe. The rescue vessel that had saved so many lives was dying, taking 847 human volunteers and 1,247 refugees with it. In the final moments as the ship's hull split apart, Navigation Officer Choi Hyun-wook managed to launch a single escape pod containing the ship's black box data. His last transmission cut through the static and flames. Tell Earth they killed our healers. The Mercy's Hand exploded in a brilliant flash of light, its debris scattering among the asteroids like fallen stars. The pirates had won this battle, but they had no idea what they had just unleashed upon the galaxy. The great chamber of the United Earth Council had never been so silent. 200 representatives from every human world sat in stunned quiet as the holographic display showed the final moments of the Mercy's Hand. The massive screens replayed the rescue ship's destruction over and over, each explosion echoing through the marble halls like thunder. Admiral Yoon Tae-min stood at the center podium, his weathered face carved from stone. Behind him, the footage showed Captain Lee Min-ho's final words, the desperate evacuation shuttles, and then the terrible flash of light as the ship died. The Admiral's uniform bore the scars of 30 years of service, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. 847 of our people, Admiral Yoon said, his voice barely above a whisper, yet carrying to every corner of the chamber. They died protecting refugees they had never met. They died doing what humans do best, saving lives that others had written off as lost. In the front row, President Han Ji-soo gripped the arms of her chair so tightly her knuckles had turned white. She had watched the footage 12 times, each viewing more painful than the last. The faces of the crew members haunted her. Young Park Ji-woo at his communications station, Medical Officer Kim So-young treating wounded refugees even as the ship burned around her. They were healers, continued Admiral Yoon, his voice growing stronger. Every single person on that ship chose to run toward danger instead of away from it. When the galaxy called for help, they answered. When innocent lives needed saving, they volunteered. And how were they repaid? The chamber remained silent, but the tension was building like a storm. Representatives from Mars Colony leaned forward in their seats. The delegates from the Centauri. Settlements had tears streaming down their faces. Even the stoic ambassadors from the Outer Rim mining worlds showed raw emotion. Council Speaker Kim Dong-woo stood slowly, his ancient frame trembling with barely contained rage. The Catherine Syndicate has crossed a line that should never be crossed. They have murdered our healers. They have slaughtered refugees under our protection. President Han Ji-soo rose from her seat, her decision already made. Her hand moved to the emergency protocol console, a device that had not been activated in over 50 years. The red warning lights began flashing throughout the chamber as she placed her palm on the scanner. Emergency Protocol 7 is now in effect, she announced, her voice carrying the weight of history. Operation Righteous Fury has been authorized. Admiral Yoon, you now have unlimited military authority. Use whatever resources you need. Bring our people home. The chamber erupted as representatives leaped to their feet, their voices joining in a roar of approval that shook the building. But Admiral Yoon was already moving, his mind racing through deployment strategies and target priorities. Within the first hour, the orders went out across human space. Every naval base, every military outpost, every defense station received the same message: full mobilization authorized. The sleeping giant of human military might began to stir. Captain Oh Seung-min was reviewing maintenance reports aboard the dreadnought Seoul's Hammer when the priority alert came through. The massive warship, nearly 2 kilometers long, had been conducting routine patrols in the Beta sector. Its crew of 3,000 had been looking forward to shore leave on New Busan. "Sir, we're receiving Emergency Protocol 7 authorization," reported his first officer, Lieutenant Commander Park Min-jung. "All leave is cancelled. We're to proceed to Rally Point Alpha at maximum speed." Captain O felt his blood run cold. Protocol 7 meant war. Real war, not the small skirmishes with raiders that had kept the fleet busy for the past decade. He looked out at the stars through the bridge viewport, knowing that everything was about to change. "Helm, plot a course for Rally Point Alpha." "Maximum burn," he ordered. "Communications, send word to the engine room. I want every reactor at full power." The Seoul's Hammer began to move, its massive engines casting blue fire across the darkness. Around it, other ships were doing the same. The heavy cruiser, Incheon's Pride, changed course from its scientific mission. The fast attack squadron led by the Daegu's Fury abandoned their patrol route. Across human space, the fleet was awakening. Lieutenant, Commander Young Hee-jin received her orders, while her reconnaissance squadron was investigating an asteroid field near the Vega system. Her 12 ships were small and fast, designed for deep space scouting rather than combat. But today they would serve a different purpose. "All ships, this is lead," she broadcast to her squadron. "We've just received priority Alpha orders. Intelligence gathering mission on Kitharan Syndicate positions. This is not a drill." Her pilot, Ensign Lee Tae-yang, looked up from his console with wide eyes. "Ma'am, are we really going after the Syndicate? Those pirates have been operating for decades." Young Hee-jin's smile was sharp as a blade. "Not anymore, Ensign, not after what they did to the Mercy's Hand." Back on Earth, Communications Director Bae Dong-hyun stood in the Global Broadcast Center, preparing to send a message that would be heard across the galaxy. Behind him, technicians worked frantically to ensure the transmission would reach every inhabited system, every space station, every ship in known space. "Director, we're ready for galaxy-wide broadcast," reported his senior technician Park Hyun-jin. "All quantum relay stations are online. This message will reach the edge of known space in 6 hours." Bae Dong-hyun nodded and stepped before the camera. His words would be simple, but they would carry the weight of humanity's fury. "To all beings across the galaxy," he began, his voice steady and cold, "the Kitharan Syndicate has attacked and destroyed a human rescue vessel. They killed our healers. They murdered refugees under our protection. They touched our children, our families, our sacred duty to preserve life." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. Across the galaxy, alien civilizations would be listening, translating, understanding that something fundamental had changed. There will be no negotiation. There will be no mercy. The Kitharan Syndicate has chosen to make themselves enemies of humanity. They will learn what that means. The transmission ended, but its echoes would ripple across the galaxy for days to come. On distant alien worlds, diplomats would watch the footage of the Mercy's Hand's destruction and shake their heads in disbelief. The pirates had attacked the one thing that should never be touched, humanity's healers. In the depths of space, Admiral Yoon Tae-min stood on the bridge of his command ship, the mighty carrier Seoul's Dawn. Around him, the largest human fleet, ever assembled, was taking shape. Dreadnoughts, cruisers, destroyers, and support ships by the hundreds. The galaxy was about to witness humanity's true nature, not the peaceful explorers and healers they had known, but the descendants of warriors who had once conquered their own world. The awakening had begun. Deep beneath the streets of New Geneva, in a facility that officially did not exist, Intelligence Director Kang Min-jun walked through corridors lined with quantum computers and holographic displays. For 30 years he had built something the galaxy never suspected, a network so vast and so hidden that even most humans didn't know it existed. "Director, all dormant assets are responding," reported his chief analyst, Lim Soo-jin, her fingers dancing across multiple holographic interfaces. "We're receiving data streams from 647 locations across known space." Kang Min-jun smiled grimly as he watched the galaxy light up on the main display. Each blinking dot represented a human who had spent years, sometimes decades, building trust and gathering information. To the rest of the galaxy, they were simple traders, diplomats, doctors, and aid workers. In reality, they were the eyes and ears of Earth's intelligence service. "Show me the Kithran data," he ordered. The display shifted, revealing a web of red lines connecting pirate bases, supply routes, and command structures. For decades, every time the Syndicate had raided a colony, human rescue workers had arrived to help the survivors. Every time pirates had attacked shipping lanes, human traders had been among the first on the scene. Each act of kindness had been genuine, but it had also been an opportunity to gather intelligence. On the distant mining world of Zerion Prime, Dr. Kim Hae-won had spent 15 years running a medical clinic for alien refugees. The local pirates thought she was just another soft-hearted human healer. They never suspected that her medical scanner could also detect weapon signatures, or that her patient database contained detailed maps of every pirate hideout in the sector. "Zerion Base confirms 23 pirate vessels at the Broken Moon facility," came her transmission through encrypted channels. "They're using the old mining tunnels as weapons storage, sending detailed schematics now." Halfway across the galaxy, Trade Representative Lee Junho was completing what appeared to be routine negotiations with a group of Kitharan suppliers. For 8 years, he had been their most reliable customer, purchasing everything from engine parts to food supplies. The pirates trusted him completely. "The main supply convoy leaves Korath 7 every 15 days, he reported quietly into his hidden communicator. "Next departure is in 6 hours. 43 ships, minimal escort. They think they're completely safe." Back in the intelligence center, analyst Lim Soo-jin compiled the data with frightening efficiency. "Sir, we have complete tactical information on the entire Kitharan Syndicate. 237 bases, 812 vessels. Detailed personnel files on all major commanders." Kang Min-jun studied the information flowing across his screens. The Kitharan Syndicate had made the same mistake that had destroyed countless enemies throughout human history. They had underestimated their opponent. They saw humans as weak, peaceful, naive. They never realized that behind every act of kindness was a mind that remembered everything. "Begin Phase 1, he ordered. "All strike teams are authorized to engage." In the Altair system, Captain Song Jin-woo received his orders aboard the stealth destroyer Silent Thunder. His ship was invisible to most sensors, its hull coated with adaptive camouflage that bent light around it like water. For 3 days, they had been watching the pirates' primary supply depot, a massive space station hidden in an asteroid field. "Target confirmed," he reported to his crew. "Warlord Thax's personal fleet is refueling at Station Korath 7. 8 heavy cruisers, 12 destroyers, and 40 support vessels. They have no idea we're here." Lieutenant Park Yoon-ji coordinated the orbital bombardment from her position at the weapons console. The Silent Thunder carried experimental plasma torpedoes, each one capable of destroying a battleship. Today they would test their effectiveness against a space station. "All weapons locked onto primary targets," she reported. "Torpedoes armed and ready." Captain Song looked at the tactical display showing the unsuspecting pirates. Some were loading supplies, others were conducting routine maintenance. None of them knew that death was approaching at near light speed. "Fire all weapons," he ordered. Space erupted in brilliant light as 12 plasma torpedoes struck Station Korath 7 simultaneously. The massive facility simply vanished, taking 3,000 pirates with it. The explosion was so intense that it briefly outshone the system's star. "Station destroyed. No survivors," Lieutenant Park reported with cold satisfaction. "Warlord Thax's fleet is completely gone." Similar scenes played out across the galaxy as human strike teams emerged from the darkness. On the edge of the Vega Nebula, Commander Kim Young-soo's task force, caught a pirate convoy completely off guard. The raiders had been celebrating a successful raid on a Centauri merchant vessel, their ships loaded with stolen cargo. "This is the Earth Defense Force," Kim broadcast on all frequencies. "You are guilty of attacking a rescue vessel. Surrender is not an option." The pirates tried to fight, but they were no match for human military technology. Their crude weapons couldn't penetrate the advanced shields of the human warships. Within minutes, the entire convoy was space debris. In the Procyon system, Major Lee Sang-wook led a ground assault on a pirate base built into a hollowed-out asteroid. Intelligence reports from human aid worker Choi Min-young had provided detailed maps of the facility's layout. The assault team moved through the tunnels, like ghosts, their advanced armor making them nearly invisible. "Resistance is minimal," Major Lee reported. "They never expected an attack. The base is secure." The pattern repeated throughout known space. Every pirate stronghold that intelligence had identified came under attack. The humans struck with precision and overwhelming force, giving their enemies no time to react or regroup. On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Yoon Tae-min watched the tactical displays as red dots representing pirate bases winked out one by one. Each extinguished light represented justice for the crew of the Mercy's Hand. "Sir, we're receiving reports from all task forces," reported his communications officer, Lieutenant Commander Jung Hyo-jin. 17 major pirate bases destroyed in the last 4 hours, enemy casualties estimated at over 12,000. Admiral Yoon nodded grimly. The Kitharan Syndicate was learning what happened when you touched humanity's healers, but this was only the beginning. The real reckoning was still to come. In a hidden bunker on the pirate world of Skarax, the surviving Kitharan commanders watched their empire crumble in real time. Their communications networks were full of desperate distress calls and final transmissions from bases under attack. "How are they finding us so easily?" demanded Subcommander Vrax, his reptilian features twisted with fear. "Our bases were hidden. For decades." The answer came from their own intelligence officer, a nervous creature called Zeth. "Sir, we've been monitoring human communications. It appears their entire civilian population has been gathering information on us for years. Every trader, every doctor, every aid worker, they were all spies." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The gentle humans who had healed their wounded, traded fairly with their suppliers, and rescued their enemies from disasters. All of them had been watching, learning, mapping every detail of the Syndicate's operations. Commander Thax's brother, Warlord Krex, slammed his fist on the table. "Impossible. Humans are weak. They're pacifists. They wouldn't hurt a spacefly." As if in response to his words, the base's warning sirens began to wail. Through the reinforced windows, they could see human ships dropping out of hyperspace, their weapons already charging for another devastating attack. The hunt was far from over, and the prey was finally beginning to understand the true nature of their hunters. Warlord Thax stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, Death's Embrace, watching the tactical display with growing horror. Red warning lights flashed across the screen as base after base went dark. In just 72 hours, half of his empire had been wiped from existence. "Status report." He roared at his cowering bridge crew. His intelligence officer, a nervous Skaraxian with trembling claws, scrolled through the disaster reports. "My lord, we've lost 47 bases, 320 ships, and over 15,000 personnel. The humans are hitting us everywhere at once." Thax's scaled fist slammed into the command console, cracking the metal surface. For 30 years, he had built the most feared pirate organization in known space. The Kitharan Syndicate controlled entire star systems, commanded fleets that could challenge small governments, and struck terror into the hearts of traders across the galaxy. "How did they find us so quickly?" he demanded, his reptilian eyes blazing with fury. "Our bases were hidden in dead systems, asteroid fields, and nebulae that haven't been mapped in centuries." Before anyone could answer, space itself seemed to tear open directly in front of the flagship. The familiar blue glow of hyperspace exits began forming, but something was different. These weren't the small tears that single ships made when dropping out of faster-than-light travel. These were massive rifts in space-time itself, The first ship to emerge was a monster. The dreadnought Soul's Hammer was nearly 2 kilometers of armored death, its hull bristling with weapons that could crack planets. But it wasn't alone. One by one, a dozen other human warships materialized from hyperspace, forming a perfect attack formation around the pirate fleet. "Impossible," whispered Thax's tactical officer, Sub-Commander Vrax. "How did they find our secret staging area? This location isn't on any star chart." Captain Oh Sung-min's voice cut through space like a blade, broadcast on all frequencies, so every pirate ship could hear his words clearly. "This is Captain Oh Sung-min of the United Earth Defense Force Battle Group 7. You destroyed the rescue vessel, Mercy's Hand. You killed our healers. You murdered innocent refugees under our protection." The bridge fell silent except for the sound of warning alarms. Thax had expected this moment might come, but not like this. Not with human warships appearing out of nowhere like vengeful ghosts. "Surrender is not an option," Captain O continued, his voice cold as the void between stars. "You will face justice for your crimes against humanity and the innocent lives you have taken." Warlord Thakex activated his own communications array, his voice filled with the arrogance that had served him for decades. "I am Warlord Thakex of the Kytheran Syndicate. You dare threaten me with your pathetic human ships? We outnumber you 3-1. Captain O's response was immediate and devastating. "Fire all weapons." The Soul's Hammer unleashed hell itself. Plasma cannons that could melt asteroids opened fire alongside railguns that launched projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. The smaller human ships joined the assault, their weapons coordinated with terrifying precision. But the real shock came when what appeared to be simple cargo vessels suddenly revealed their true nature. Hidden weapon bays opened along their hulls, deploying missile launchers and energy weapons that had been disguised as simple freight containers. The galaxy's most peaceful species had been hiding weapons of war inside their merchant fleet. "Sir, the human cargo ship, Peaceful Trader, just launched 30 plasma torpedoes," screamed the pirate sensor operator. "And the medical transport Healing Light has rail guns hidden in its medical bays." Thax watched in stunned disbelief as humanity's true nature revealed itself. For decades, these harmless cargo ships had visited pirate ports, their crews smiling and trading fairly. Medical vessels had treated wounded pirates without asking questions, their doctors speaking of peace and compassion, all while secretly cataloguing every weapon, every ship, every weakness they could find. The battle was swift and decisive. The pirates' crude weapons couldn't penetrate the advanced shields of the human warships. Their disorganized tactics fell, apart against humanity's coordinated assault. Within minutes, half the pirate fleet was drifting wreckage. "My lord, we must retreat," urged Sub-Commander Vrax as explosions rocked the flagship. "We cannot win this fight." But retreat was impossible. Every escape route had been blocked by human ships. Every hiding place had been anticipated. The pirates were trapped in a carefully planned killing ground. On a distant observation platform that the pirates had thought was a simple research station, Major Kim Tae-hoon coordinated the final phase of the assault. "All units, the pirates, are trapped. Begin final bombardment." The research station suddenly transformed, its scientific equipment retracting to reveal massive orbital cannons. Similar transformations occurred across the sector as humanity's civilian installations revealed their military capabilities. The galaxy realized that human compassion had masked the most sophisticated war machine ever created. Warlord Thax's flagship shuddered as direct hits began penetrating its armor. His bridge crew was in full panic, some abandoning their posts to reach escape pods. But the warlord himself remained, his pride refusing to let him run. "Incoming transmission from Admiral Yoon," reported his communications officer with a trembling voice. The main screen flickered to life, showing the face of Admiral Yoon Tae-min aboard his command ship. The human admiral's expression was colder than the space between galaxies. Thax attempted one final, desperate plea. "We didn't know they were protected. The rescue ship showed no weapons. We thought they were just another easy target." Admiral Yoon's response cut through the pirates' excuses like a blade through paper. "Every healer is protected. Every rescue worker is sacred. Every innocent life under our care is family. You should have known that touching them meant war with all of humanity. The Admiral's next words carried the weight of absolute judgment. You chose to make yourselves enemies of Earth. Now face the consequences. The final salvo came from every human ship simultaneously. Hundreds of weapons fired at once, turning space into a web of deadly energy. The Death's Embrace, which had terrorized the galaxy for decades, simply ceased to exist in a brilliant flash of light. As the explosion faded, Captain Oh Sung-min opened channels to the surviving pirate vessels. This is your only warning. Lay down your arms and surrender or share your leader's fate. One by one, the remaining pirate ships powered down their weapons and transmitted surrender codes. The mighty Kitharan Syndicate, which had ruled through fear for 30 years, had been destroyed in a single afternoon by the species they had dismissed as weak and peaceful. In the wreckage of the battlefield, automated human recovery drones searched for survivors. Even in the midst of their righteous fury, humanity's nature remained unchanged. They would heal even their enemies, showing mercy to those who had shown none. But the message was clear across the galaxy. Touch a human healer, harm those under their protection, and face the full wrath of Earth's children. The gentle species that ran toward danger to save lives would destroy anyone who threatened their sacred mission. The reckoning was complete. 6 months after the destruction of the Kitharan Syndicate, the Mercy's Hand Memorial Station slowly rotated in Earth's orbit, its crystalline structure catching and reflecting sunlight like a jewel against the darkness of space. The station was massive, nearly 3 kilometers across, its surfaces covered in quantum crystal panels that contained the names and memories of every soul lost aboard the rescue vessel. Memorial Officer Lee Jae-sung stood at the central observation deck, watching as delegations from across the galaxy arrived for the dedication ceremony. Ships from the Altarian Republic, the Vegan Collective, the Centauri Federation, and dozens of other civilizations formed a respectful formation around the memorial station. "Sir, the final quantum engravings are complete," reported his assistant engineer Park So-min. "All 847 human volunteers and 1,247 refugees are now permanently recorded. The crystals will remain visible from Earth's surface for the next 1,000 years." Lee Jae-sung nodded solemnly as he watched the names appear in flowing script across the station's hull. Captain Lee Min-ho's name blazed brightest at the center, surrounded by his crew. Communications Officer Park Ji-woo, Medical Officer Kim So-young, Navigator Choi Hyun-wook, all of them now immortalized in crystal and starlight. Below them, Earth's cities had gone silent for exactly 847 seconds, one for each human life lost. From New Seoul to New London, from Mars colony to the orbital habitats of Jupiter, humanity paused to remember their fallen heroes. In the Great Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council on Nexus Prime, President Han Ji-soo stood before representatives. From 200 different species, the chamber had been rebuilt since the war, its walls now displaying holographic images of rescue operations happening across the galaxy in real time. "Today, we established the Rescue Protection Protocols," President Han announced, her voice carrying the weight of recent history. "From this moment forward, any attack on medical or rescue personnel of any species will be met with immediate response from Earth's Defense Force." The alien delegates shifted nervously in their seats. They had all seen the footage of what happened to the Kitharan Syndicate. Entire fleets reduced to space dust, fortified bases vaporized, and a criminal empire that had terrorized the galaxy for decades wiped from existence in just 72 hours. Ambassador Choi Min-kyung stepped forward, her diplomatic uniform bearing the symbols of both Earth and the Galactic Rescue Service. Behind her, a holographic display showed human rescue ships operating across known space, their hulls now marked with the distinctive blue and white crosses that had become symbols of hope throughout the galaxy. "We want to make something absolutely clear to everyone here," Ambassador Choi said, her voice calm but carrying an undertone of steel. "Humanity are healers first. We run toward disaster, not away from it. We risk our lives to save strangers. We ask for nothing in return except the right to continue our work." She paused, letting her words sink in as the alien delegates listened with complete attention, But when you threaten our healers, when you harm innocent lives under our protection, you will discover that humans can be both compassionate and savage. We are the same species that once conquered our own world through warfare, and we have never forgotten those lessons. To demonstrate her point, the chamber's main screen activated, showing live feeds from across the galaxy. The human rescue ship, New Dawn, was evacuating survivors from a volcanic disaster on Kepler 438b. The medical vessel, Gentle Mercy, was treating plague victims in the Outer Rim colonies. Everywhere humans went, they brought healing and hope. But orbiting nearby, barely visible on long-range sensors, were the sleek shapes of human warships. The dreadnought Soul's Hammer maintained its patrol route through the Altair system. Fast attack squadrons conducted training exercises that doubled as shows of force. The message was clear: hurt the healers and face the hunters. In the Vega system, Dr. Kim Hai-won continued running her medical clinic for alien refugees, just as she had for 15 years. But now things were different. The local criminals who had once extorted protection fees from aid workers had mysteriously disappeared. The pirates who used to raid supply convoys now gave medical transports a wide berth of at least 10 light years. "Doctor, we have 17 new patients from the mining accident on Vega 7, reported her nurse, a young Altarian named Zixara. 3 humans, 8 Altarians, and 6 Vegans, all with severe radiation exposure. Dr. Kim nodded and began preparing her equipment. "Set up the emergency ward, contact the healing light for additional medical supplies, and Zixara, make sure our protection beacon is active." The protection beacon was new, a quantum transmitter that instantly alerted Earth's defense force if any medical facility came under attack. Similar beacons had been installed on every hospital, clinic, and rescue ship in known space. The galaxy's predators had learned to fear that particular signal. On the bridge of his flagship Soul's Dawn, Admiral Yun Tae-min reviewed the daily reports from across human space. Crime against medical personnel had dropped by 97%. Attacks on rescue vessels had ceased entirely. Even the most desperate pirates now avoided anything bearing medical markings. "Sir, we're receiving a priority transmission from the Procyon sector," reported his communications officer, Commander Young Hyo-jin. "Pirates have taken hostages on a civilian transport, but they're specifically requesting that human rescue teams stay away." Admiral Yoon allowed himself a grim smile. "Send the rescue teams anyway with full escort. If the pirates want to surrender before we arrive, they're welcome to do so." The transformation had been complete and permanent. Across the galaxy, alien species that had never worked together before now coordinated their rescue efforts under human protection. Altarian medical ships flew alongside Vegan disaster response teams, Centauri search and rescue units trained with human volunteers. The galaxy had learned that protecting healers was everyone's responsibility. Young Park Min-jung, daughter of the late communications officer Park Ji-woo, stood at the entrance to the Space Rescue Academy on Mars. At 18, she was following in her father's footsteps, preparing for a career saving lives in the darkness between stars. "Remember," her instructor, Captain Kim Young-ho, told the new recruits, "when you put on this uniform, you carry the trust of every species in the galaxy. You also carry the protection of Earth's military. Do your job, save lives, and know that if anyone tries to harm you, the entire human fleet will come to your aid." The recruits stood straighter, understanding the weight of their responsibility and the power of their protection. They were the new generation of humanity's healers, trained to run toward danger and backed by the most powerful military force the galaxy had ever seen. In the depths of space, automated monitoring stations kept watch on the traditional pirate routes and criminal safe havens. The artificial intelligence systems, designed by human engineers, sent instant alerts whenever potential threats were detected near medical vessels. The message had spread to every corner of known space, carried by traders, diplomats, and refugees, whose lives had been saved by human rescue workers. Touch a human rescue craft, harm a medical worker of any species, threaten those under their protection, and Earth's answer would be swift and savage. Captain Lee Min-ho and his crew were gone, but their sacrifice had changed the galaxy forever. The gentle humans who ran toward danger to save lives would destroy anyone who threatened their sacred mission. In the darkness between stars, that promise watched and waited, ready to strike at anyone foolish enough to test humanity's resolve. The new order had begun, and it would endure as long as humans drew breath among the stars. The end.